Hello, everybody. Welcome out to the Pod of War Gamescast, the critically acclaimed award nominee Pod of War podcast.
Talking about all your NFTs.
Talking about all of Chris's games he won't complete. I am your host, UF Gizmo, joined this week, as I always will be, by massive Das Chris Mengele.
Hello, everyone.
And Stadia's own CW Lanky.
Hell yeah.
It's another week, boys. How are we doing?
Yeah, not bad.
Fantastic, Dave.
Good, I'm glad. I'm also well. So we're good. So this week, as we promised last week, we're going to talk about some actual gaming news. There's been a lot of gaming news since our last show, so we'll talk about that, talk about our thoughts on everyone's favourite thing, the Xbox / Game Pass, because it's the same thing. But before we get to that, let's talk about what we've bought, we've been playing, what we've picked up on the Fantasy Critic. Let's start with the biggest dog in the yard, massive Das Chris Mengele.
Okay, yeah, so, because I think we missed the week. Just 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, so I've played a few things. I'll try to go in like order of not so good to better.
Build us up.
I played some more Paparazzi. I rolled the credits on that, and yeah, not good. I know we joked like last time about it compared to like Pokemon Snap and stuff, but like the joke is like funny for 5 minutes. Oh look, I'm taking a picture of a funny dog. Look how funny the dog is with its hat, and that's like it. Well, like Pokemon Snap, even though it's on rails and stuff like that, compared to Paparazzi, where you can like move around and interact with the dogs, so there's so much more like polish and charm and stuff for the Pokemon game. And last year there was actually quite a few photography-based games as well, which I never played because I played Pokemon Snap. So I think if you want, I want a game where I take pictures of stuff, there's mostly better options than Paparazzi.
There's probably some Chris Mengele hentai games on Steam for such things. Am I right, Grego?
There was one.
You know them, Chris.
Switch.
Let's not pretend you don't know the names.
It's something like Yumigami or something like that reviewed really well. On, like,
did you see how he said that and then
Switch.
looked at his shelf? I'm joking.
No, it's an eShop only title.
I look forward to that review next week.
No, I'm not buying it. Yeah, but that came out, and I'm pretty sure it reviewed well on like the Switch last year. But there was other photo games. There's that Island of something game as well, and that. Then the next one, I played this. You jokingly with Craig with his Stadia. I played this on Stadia, and that is Life is Strange Before the Storm remastered. Because obviously it's the two games. So you got Before the Storm, which is the prequel to Life is Strange. Obviously the prequel came after the first one when they originally released, but I started with the prequel this time. So I've done the 3 episodes of that. It was still a great narrative-driven experience, but the problem is with it, it's apparently a remastered. There is no PS5 version, there is no Series X version, or anything like that. So it's a PS4 game, or an Xbox One game, remastered for PS4 and Xbox One. Obviously it's on Stadia and PC, and there's a Switch cloud version. So there's other options now than there was originally. But it looks basically no different, because it's a remaster of a game. Obviously they've improved like the lip syncing and stuff with mocap and that, but that's basically it. So even though it's still a great game, I enjoy playing it again. If I said to you, Dave, oh, you've not played Life is Strange, you should just walk down to CEX and buy a used copy of Before the Storm on Xbox One, or in your case PS4 because you got Series F, and that will be exactly the same.
Do you know what I would say, Chris?
It's not a pretty game anyway, is it, to be honest with you?
It's also always about £1 in every sale on every platform.
My thinking is Square would delist it from the digital stores.
You are probably right.
So you have to buy the remaster for £33.
Ugh.
Hence my walk down to CEX and buy it physically on PS4 as or Xbox One.
Or just don't play those games because they're rubbish.
Well, they are very, very good games. So that was that. So I played that, and then I played the big one, and that was Pokemon Legends Arceus for the Switch.
Year of the Switch, Chris. How's the first game of Year of the Switch?
Well, I played Shin Megami Tensei, but that was that was last year game, not this year game. Very good. Pokemon Legends is fantastic. It doesn't really compare to Breath of the Wild like some people were saying. It's more Monster Hunter than Breath of the Wild because of how it's set up. Like, you go to your village.
I don't know what that's more insulting to, Monster Hunter or Breath of the Wild, to be honest with
you. Well, Breath of the Wild's trash, as you remember. Great, from when Chris reviewed it before.
Yeah. So you got like your little village.
He's like, yeah, of course it was. Just fact.
And you get your mission or whatever. You select your area, which sort of open world, but they're split up into zones, like in the Monster Hunter. You go there, you capture and battle Pokemon instead of like hunting in a Monster Hunter, and then you go back and then you get like a score and a rank and all gravy, and you've obviously progressed the story along. And that but just like it modernizes the Pokemon, like the battles are so much more fluid, even though they are turn-based game again. And you go obviously when you're walking around, you see the Pokemon, and that which is like, oh cool, they're not just like jumping out of the grass, and you can see which ones you need to capture, don't want to capture. Oh, that's a shiny one, want to go get that shiny. And because like all the Pokemon are like proper animated and that's like, oh, this one's really cool, I want to use this one in my team, because they're just not like a random 2D pixel now. They're like this proper 3D thing. And the story's kind of generic. It was like obvious what was gonna happen, but yeah, very good. Year of the Switch started strong.
Excellent news.
Yeah.
Obviously, Craig has a lot to add to the Pokemon chat.
Mm-hmm.
No, he doesn't.
It looks rubbish.
Yeah, it looks bad.
I'd see. I didn't have any issue with there's like some of the characters, like their like uniforms or whatever, that have like their logo of what team they're on, and it's like quite a low like resolution thing. Where obviously if you had more powerful, you would have more detail in that, but it doesn't really affect the game per se. And the Pokemon that all look pretty good. And when you're in the area of like where you're battling or whatever, it's fine. It's more if you went in the distance, there'd be a Pokemon, like a flying Pokemon, and he's running at like 2 frames a second, and it sort of thing. But Monster Hunter Rise does exactly the same thing as that as well on the Switch. It has the same sort of thing. Like the monster in far distance would be like a low resolution or something, and then you get to them, and then they're in a higher one. Not resolution, frame rate, I should say.
Fair enough. Sorry if you heard lots of beeping during Chris then, because my microphone decided it wanted to disconnect from my computer. So Chris is part robot for a few minutes there, but a sexy robot, so it's okay. Did you buy anything, Chris, physically?
I haven't gotten with me. I bought a red DualSense.
Right.
Because I got it quite cheap. So I bought a red DualSense. I bought another book about Kojima again, so you never have enough books about Kojima. And that's it.
Excellent. Did you pick anything up for Fantasy Critic?
I've picked up a lot for Fantasy Critic. I've gone a little nuts with this. Oh, let's bring it up. I have it up now.
I can't bring it up for the viewers this time because of my current setup.
So my last pick was Sea of Stars, when we did the draft. And then since then, the next thing I picked up was Pokemon Legends Arceus, which has got me 15 points. It's currently on 85. A well-deserved 85 points there. Then it's got Far Changing Tides, which is the sequel to Far Lone Sails, which was a pretty decent game. I think the first one got like an 81, and that's why I got it. It's coming to Game Pass for Xbox, but it's coming to sort of everything. Then I've gone for Atelier Sophie 2. Atelier Ryza scored 80-something, and the Atelier game before that also scored 80-something. But the Sophie 1 didn't score that high, but we've had a few Atelier games since, so hopefully the quality continues, and that's another 80-odd. Then I have Gunvolt Chronicles Luminous Adventure IX2, which has got an 80 and got me 10 points. Then I picked Oxenfree 2, Lost Signals. The first one reviewed pretty highly as well, and it's coming early this year. So I'm expecting like another 80. Then I got Stray, which again is supposed to be an early 2022 game. They kind of joked it was going to come in February, and they're like, better not release it that day because Elden Ring and whatever's coming out. Then I got Open Roads, which I think is one you say, Craig, you never heard of.
I've not heard of a few of these, don't you worry.
Okay, so Open Roads, that is from Fulbright, who did Gone Home, which Dave absolutely loves. But Gone Home is an 86 rated game, and then they did the Tacoma, which weirdly has only got 77, which actually seems below thing. But they're averaging.
I don't know if Gone Home gets that high of a rating if it comes out now. That's the thing.
Correct.
I think that came out at a very early kind of
when it was
indie
cool
boom
to say.
Yeah,
games that haven't got any gameplay in it are cool.
Yeah, but their two games are an 86 and like a 77, so I'm expecting like an 80 odd from it. And a Paranoia is picking up publishing for that. And the last one I then has got Neon White, which is developed by the guy that did Donut County, which is a great game. And it leaves me just one space left, but a whopping, I have $91 in the bank with one space left. So when we come to not E3, and Super Mario Odyssey 2 is announced, $91 be going on that title, for instance. And I did get one other, because obviously we had to do the counterpick draft. I counterpicked Stalker 2 of Dave, because it's already been delayed already to December, and I'm expecting another delay to January or February of 2023. That is what I am thinking on that.
Lovely stuff.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Pengles has gone mental, basically. It's done
So
same thing as last year. He spunked his load in January, and we'll see how it goes.
I currently got 25 points with my 2 games. So,
but as we know, that means nothing at the start of February.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. But we'll see. We'll see what Pengy achieves. So let's move on to me, because I'm nice and quick. So I have played since we last spoke. I started Cyberpunk 2077. A couple hours in.
Yeah.
It's okay. It feels weird. It's really hard to explain. Like, the driving feels kind of loose. The shooting feels kind of loose. And it's a weird game. When I play more, I'll give more of a review than that. But right now, that's my... It's okay. Bit strange. Other than that, I'm playing a game which is NDA'd, so I can't say that. I'm playing a game early, which we'll talk about. And I've been playing Mario Kart, because why not? I mean, I'll never stop. But yeah, that's about what I've been playing. As for pickups on the Fantasy Critic, I picked up Grapple Dog, which is a game coming to Switch next week, I believe. And I think I picked up something else, but I don't remember.
Tiny Tina's Wonderland and Advance Wars.
There we go. Those 2 games. Thank you, Chris. And that is.
And you're currently on a -11.
I'm on a -11.
No save 11, but you will get 10 points at the moment for C Fuse, so it'll put you on -1.
Okay, so as of last year, I'll start slow. But
you actually got you've counter-picked Redfall as well.
Because that's not coming out this year. That's why that's happened. So whoever's picked that, I'm sorry that's going to be late.
That was Mr. Craig.
That is not coming out this year. No way. So there we go. But yeah, I've got a few big hitters of mine. I think I've got GT7 and Horizon Forbidden West coming up. So
we recently had that GT7 showcase. I did watch it, and it looks like a game that will review well and very polished and that. So
shiny, racy.
Mm-hmm. And they go into all the history stuff and that with it as well. I can see it being reviewing quite well, that one.
Hell yeah. So that's enough about me. Let's move on to Craig. Craig, life, go.
So since last time we recorded, I've finished Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Hero.
I think my save finished on around, it's either 52 or 53 hours. So it was a big boy. I did get to, I knew going into before that it gets harder towards the end, and you probably will have to grind. I naively thought, well, I'll do the side quests along the way. That would be enough. Get to chapter 12, which is like the renowned chapter for where you hit a brick wall. You get to a certain boss fight, and that brick wall hits you. It hits you hard. Luckily, just before you get to that, it gives you like a arena dungeon sort of thing with 30 floors, which you can fight your way through, and that will level you up quite a lot just doing like 1 or 2 playthroughs of that. And you also get like a 50G achievement for doing it. So I sat there one night listening to a podcast and just like smashed my way through that, and then went back and fought the boss. And it still took a long time to fight the boss, but we got there, which is the main thing. Game's really good. Like I said, there's a few long, quite hard bosses right at the end as well. In chapter 15, I think it's the last chapter. But kind of once you've learned their weaknesses, it's not too bad, in all honesty. Get through. But yeah, really enjoyed that one. And then the only other thing I've played, other than a bit more Forza, because it's a brand new monthly season thing. I think it's like the Chinese New Year's, the main like focus. There's a few Chinese cars that have never been in Forza before, so that's pretty cool. And there's a new showcase as well that they put in for the weekly challenge, which is quite cool, instead of just do this championship. And then I played some Nobody Saves the World this morning. I played a few hours. Seems really good so far. Really like the art style. It's very drinkboxy. Actually, it really plays really well. I don't know if it's running at 60 FPS or any of the kind of details like that, but it feels really sharp and really kind of fluid and responsive when you play it. And that's about it, in all honesty. Like I said, a few hours, got through a few dungeons. The dungeons don't seem too long, which is quite nice because no one wants to be grinding the same like floor 8 times in a dungeon or whatever. So yeah, I hope to play some more of that this week. And then in terms of pickups for Fantasy Critic, I picked up a few for the end of March, I believe. So I got Tunic and Weird West. Also picked up Ghostwire Tokyo, which I believe is the end of March as well. And then one in May, which is 2 Point Campus, which I thought was quite a safe little pick. Now that's got a date, because I think 2 Point Hospital got like an 84 and 85 or something like that. So.
Yeah, it's a safe bet.
Yeah. Oh, and I out of pure rage, because of Chris Bengelli counter-picking Suicide Squad, which has been delayed, although I noticed he's changed it on there now, so it's like delay, like a questionable delay, instead of like a full-on delay.
I know in the G-Namer one, Treesmith picked it, and it had that, and he's dropped it now, and you only get the one drop, so he's in the rules that they're using, so he's dropped that. That is gone.
Yeah. So out of pure rage and anger, I've counterpicked Final Fantasy because I do not believe that comes out, and I just want to hurt Pengles. And if that
I don't think it's coming back
and hurts
either.
me more, so be it.
Yeah.
I want blood.
I would be surprised if 16 makes this year. I think it will come out in like this time next year. I'd be surprised if it comes out this year because they've got Stranger's Paradise or whatever coming out first. And then...
And if you've got a look of what's coming, Dave's got 5 games in a row coming out. Sifu, which just obviously got reviews. Grapple Dog, Warhammer, Total War, and Warhammer 3. King of the Fighters 15, which is Craig's counterpick. And then Horizon. So he's got 5. So Dave could have a chunky lead by the end of February.
Doesn't matter, does it? It doesn't matter till December.
No, but then I've got 3. I've got Atelier Sophie, Elden Ring, and Fight Changing Times.
I want Elden Ring to be rubbish so bad.
And then 2 more for Dave with Gran Turismo 7 and Triangle Strategy. So the 4th of March, Dave would have had like every game of his out. So.
Well, I've still got 5 or 6 picks, Chris. Yeah. This is the glory of Dave. I haven't spunked it too much on indie games. But anyway, it's enough about catch-up. That was a 20-minute catch-up. So let's move on to the topic of the show. Tots. So, we promised it. We're going to talk Xbox. We're not going to go too deep in the history of Xbox. There's documentaries for that. So, what we're going to talk about is Game Pass, really, because that's really what Xbox is now. It's an ecosystem. Like we've talked before how much we like the machines, so we don't really need to go into that as a thing. Like, we like the machines. That's cool, right? Agreed? Everyone likes the Xbox, yeah? Craig hates it.
Yeah.
Hates the Xbox.
Awful.
He's been playing fucking N64 since 1998. But yeah, so we're going to talk about Game Pass, right? Because obviously the big news, well, the potential news is Microsoft's intention to pick up Activision Blizzard in about a year's time for fucking, was it like 70 billion, something stupid?
Yeah, it was 60. I think it's 67.8 or something like that.
Let's round that to 70. That's just easier to say, isn't it? So they're picking that up. So there's a big furore at the minute because PlayStation fans or whatever, and PlayStation bought Bungie for 3 billion, which seems really expensive for Bungie.
It did, but then I'm saying Microsoft paid 2.5 billion for Mojang, which only really did Minecraft.
But that was like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
more than that, I think.
Yeah, like inflation.
Yeah, so
surely.
inflation. So Bungie sounds. That's what I'm saying. Bungie doesn't sound that bad when you go that.
I think Minecraft was like the biggest game in the world as well.
Yeah.
Like it was everywhere and it was massive.
Yeah, I do disagree.
That was only like the real comparison. Apart from Sega, only paid 150 million for Atlas, which seems a right bargain.
It does, and Insomniac was only 250 million as well. But anyway, so that's what they've bought. So people are, this seems like it's acquisition season. This is what all the Twitsters keep going on about, right? But
yeah, Jeff Keighley's. I don't really know what you count Jeff Keighley as, because he's not like
an idiot.
An insider.
There you go. I'm going to rule myself out of ever appearing on Game Awards. Bloke's a moron. There we go. He's a shill. There we go.
It is weird that now everyone's coming out and saying that they know all these acquisitions that are coming, even though no one seemed to know about the Activision one, which is like the biggest one ever.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, if no one knew about that, how are you guys saying that you now know about all these other ones?
People just like
strange.
People want them to follow you, don't they? So I get it. But anyway,
it's the same as football in the nose, isn't it?
Yeah, and well, unless you're Fabrizio Romano, is the only one you should trust. But anyway, let's talk Game Pass. So let's talk first of all. Let's go negative first, because I like being negative. That's what I do. Some Game Pass cons. Is there any? Obviously, let's not start with Craig, because I know Craig's not going to have too many cons. I'm going to start with one that's a Dave con, for sure, and I think it's a Chris con. Craig's going to fucking roll his eyes at this. It somewhat devalues your need to play certain games. So what I mean is, if I see a game that's come to Game Pass, for example, Psychonauts 2, I'm in absolutely no rush to play it. Thoughts on that, Craig? I know you just hate me at this point.
I mean, I guess, would you rather it didn't and buy it? Is the obvious question.
The reason why I think it's a con, for me personally, this is a personal con, is I've got such a backlog that I should really play that I've paid money for, as opposed to a subscription. I told you it was silly, but this is the I remember stretching for cons to Game Pass. But that's my con. I kind of just can't really be asked. I play a game I own instead. But there we go.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I was talking to Games Asylum because they reviewed Paparazzi, and I just played it, rolled the credits, that was enough. And I think I got 1 or 2 achievements, and they got the 1000G. They got to 1000G, and it's you get anything doing any of the missions, any new ending, and then no. And I was wasn't a weird call and weird things because you got all these games you now have access to on Game Pass. I can try a Paparazzi. I can try I don't know what's coming out soon on Game Pass. I don't know.
Nobody Saves the World. You could have gone with that, Craig. Chris, that'd been fine.
Yeah, Nobody Saves the World. I can try that. Play an hour for it. I don't like it. I got 200 other games to bang, and you get your 1 or 2 achievements where I was saying, and he's I went for the 1000, blah blah blah, like that. This is even weirder one to you, I've bought X game on my PlayStation. I will, play it, and you're gonna get 60-70% of trophies or whatever. It's that. On my true achievements and true trophies, my completion is higher on my PlayStation than it is on my Xbox, because it's it's a real daft one. But what you're saying,
I wouldn't be bringing your stats into anything, Chris.
No, my stats
Chris
aren't
Ratalika
fantastic.
Games Pengelly.
Yeah, they're not fantastic. I'm kind of saying you're
Push
going
those numbers up, Davey.
Yeah.
You're going to play and finish in the game that you've bought.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A game. That's what I'm trying to get at. Because a game because you have access, you can try. Death's Door was the example. Craig, he had it on. He's got it on his 5 games thing. We both thought he most probably is the one he won't finish because he won't like it. But it's on Game Pass. You can try it. He plays an hour, doesn't like it. There's no issue. You can move on to something else. It's like, oh, I paid £70 for Horizon Forbidden West. I better play this game because I paid £70 for it.
And mine and Chris's cons really are from the side of someone that owns more than one console. So if you go to Craig, that all of what we've just said is a massive plus, I imagine, for you, Craig.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a obvious negative and drawback to it. But I guess for someone who doesn't buy a lot of games anyway, it's kind of hard to see that.
I guess it puts you off buying games because... So say it's a game you want. Say, for example, you're excited for Lost Judgment, right? You like that game. So, but you're not, even if you really like it, you're not going to buy it because it probably will come to Game Pass. So you're just like, oh, I'll just wait. So for a Chris Pengelly, that would be a massive con because he would just forget it and then never play it. But you're hard because you really are the flag carrier for Game Pass, aren't you, Craig? Like you are their perfect use case scenario. I think, at this point.
I suppose I've adapted to it.
You're the modern man.
Yeah.
So, Craig, talk to me about your favorite pro about Game Pass.
I think the obvious one is kind of like Chris said, is trying games that you wouldn't necessarily have played if they weren't on Game Pass. I always use Nier Automata as the example, but I could use Yakuza as the example as well now. Of just games that I never would have bought, even if I walked into a store and knew where I'm at was 50p, I wouldn't have bought it. I wouldn't have even thought about picking it up, but because it's on Game Pass, and I was like, sorry, I'll give it a go. I played that, and now I'm like, I kind of want to play Replicant.
You're a weeb now.
Exactly, yeah. Other Japanese games, I would want to play like Scarlet Nexus and stuff like that, which again I never would have played. So that's the obvious biggest pro for me, is that kind of opening up to other games that you just never would have played.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the two biggest pros for Game Pass. The fact that, like you said, you can play anything. For me, I like Dirt 5. I wouldn't have bought it again, but I could play it again. And stuff like Horizon and all the deals they do. So I guess the other big pro, now I've mentioned it, is value for money. Is quite literally ridiculous for Game Pass. Like it's silly. Like, what's a year of Game Pass? £120, £125, something like that. If you had to
something like that, because it's $10.99. It's
$10.99 a month. And then we're going on Ultimate, which is really the way to do it, which includes PC, EA Play, Gold, etc. For £11 a month, what's that in quick math? £131. So that's definitely not £131. I've absolutely forgotten to add £12 on there. It's £143. Maths. But that's 2 PlayStation games. That's what I'm trying to say. That's Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon West, and you can't play them online because you can't afford to buy Plus with the £3 that's left over.
Yeah, I would be interested to know the combined value of all the Game Pass games I played last year, because I'd
probably figure it out.
Probably £300 or £400.
Yeah, you'd have saved silly money.
So you saying like that, really joking, and because obviously I was playing Life is Strange on Stadia, and Stadia Pro is £9, and there's 50 games on there at the moment. Someone actually worked out what was the cost of those games, and it was actually something ridiculous. So I can't imagine what it would be for Game Pass.
Well, yeah, I mean, even for games that so I don't really use Game Pass all that much. And in the last 6 months, it's justified. It's alone from Forza Horizon 5 and Halo and games like that. It's what can you say? And then obviously the big talking point is adding. Every time they add a new studio and publisher, those games will go on there. None of us are particularly big Bethesda players, apart from Craig with Doom, and
Wolfenstein, I guess.
Wolfenstein, the first couple, but you think all of those games, go into the backlog. We could all play Fallout if we wanted to. We could all play Elder Scrolls, and then you think, right, we're going to add Crash and Tony Hawk's and Call of Duty and Diablo and Overwatch, and you know what I mean. So and then it's that's papered over the talk from a couple of months ago that we're going to probably get Ubisoft Plus in some way on Game Pass, right? They came out and said in their Xbox Wire article. Well, they tweeted about it. Ubisoft have said it, so it's like
even if they've also came out and said it's not part of Game Pass.
No, it's like
it's coming to X. They've only mentioned it's coming to Xbox.
Yeah, so if you add, even if you pay the extra for that, you don't buy. I mean, what is there left? EA, you can just wait and get it on EA Play. Take Two, Capcom.
Yeah,
maybe like you buy the one Resident Evil game a year. You buy FIFA if you want to.
Square is iffy. Sometimes the
Square don't like to put stuff on Xbox anyway because they're weird.
Yeah,
they also
I think you're going to see less and less Square stuff on Xbox this gen. Anyway, in all honesty, looking at how the trend seems to be going.
So to speak with, I've rearranged for comfort. So if we talk to Strange then, so what's the PlayStation's next move? Do they buy Square? Do they buy Capcom?
I don't know.
Obviously, I don't think they can buy Capcom now, can they? Because they've just been bought by.
They've only actually got something like a 5% stake. It's not
which they also did have in Bungie, for the record.
So yeah, because Capcom's just got the company's not been bought like a 5% stake by a Saudi Arabian
hell yeah
coast thing.
Probably be on the next, I don't know, Man City shirts, Newcastle shirts, one or the other.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, Capcom on Newcastle shirts could be.
Resident Evil, you fight Andy Carroll.
At Elimination Chamber, Vince comes out in a Newcastle shirt with Capcom logo.
Oh, what a dream!
Yeah,
that's such great shit. So yeah, I mean, for Xbox, this is an Xbox focus. What do we think about Xbox's future? Do we think it's just going to keep? They're going to keep going. They're going to keep acquiring more. We're going to get a bigger focus on the cloud. We're going to get a bigger focus on PC. Like, what are we talking? What are we thinking in their deepest, darkest hearts, Chris Pengelly?
Yeah, I don't know how much more you acquire, because I know people have gone, it's Monopoly and that, and then people were like, if you see what the Embracer Group owns, they own more than Sony, Xbox, Nintendo, and EA and Take-Two put together. So it's not that, but it's how many studios do you actually need? You've got 30 already, and of good quality, of mainly the Bethesda ones brought over and stuff like that, and Playground and Double Fine, stuff like that. Cool. The Activision ones are a bit mixed because they've all been doing Call of Duty for about the last 20 years. So see what those studios can do instead of being worked on Call of Duty all the time. That's interesting. It's it's just they want content every month, and you gotta have studios to bring content out every month. And I think that's why we had Rainbow Six Extraction in January, because none of the Xbox studios had content for January. And February, what we know at the moment, the game's coming, it's mainly indies, but you got Edge of Eternity, which is a 35 quid retail game. Rainbow Six is 35 quid as well. It's it's a big-ish sort of title. That's your big February game. Could you get Wonderlands in March? I guess plug the gap sort of thing. I think that's why we got a lot of studios, and you can get to November and go, okay, we've got nothing from 343 or anything, but we now have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 instead on Game Pass for November. So I think they mostly want enough studios so they can keep game development 3-4 years for some of these studios, especially a Starfield one. Some would be less. I can see Double Fine much quicker than that, I expect. They took ages on Psychonauts 2, but they had that one spell where they were pumping out quite a few games on the 360 era, if I remember correctly, the stacking game and stuff like that. So I kind of that's how I go. They want content every month. Netflix has content every month, Disney Plus has new content every month, etc. I think that's what Microsoft want. They have content from their studios once a month. When they've got enough studios that they think or whatever to have content every month to bring people on to Game Pass, and mostly that be it.
Indeed, I think you're probably right. I mean, it's tough because games do vary in length and vary in size. I mean, they have enough studios now that have studios within studios.
Yeah.
Studioception.
It's like Activision. You go, they really got Infinity Ward, and then you got Sledgehammer, Raven.
Well, even not even that. I mean, Obsidian has 2 teams. You know what I mean? Rare has 3 or 4 teams. Double Fine have 2 teams. They've got plenty of people working on games. obviously there seems to be an industry push for service games, which was a big part of Sony's acquisition of Bungie, which was quite interesting.
Yes.
Because they want to have 10 live service games by 26, was it? 26?
Yeah, 2026.
Which is a strange thing to announce, to be honest. Really strange thing to announce, because no one likes to hear live service game.
No, I think it depends how it's done, though, doesn't it? I think.
Yeah.
I know, but no one wants to hear it. Like, they want to see it and be like, okay,
Yeah.
I want it. No one's excited. Like, I'm not excited when they say we're going to make a live service game. I'm like,
yeah, but again,
Avengers, or it's going to be Destiny.
Yeah, if it's Avengers and Destiny, like, for me, that wouldn't get me excited at all, obviously. No. But when you think of, like, Forza Horizon 5 is essentially a live service game. The way it does it's constantly doing content every week. We know there's some DLCs coming out.
Once the new season pass. At the moment, it's the Fiesta event again. Last month was the Samurai, the Cyberpunk type one or whatever. So you got all this stuff to keep you coming back and playing more, whatever.
Yeah, so if it's done
and
more
keeps
like
you
those
subscribing
examples
as well to Game Pass, because all your favorite games have got new content.
Indeed. Chris has just absolutely killed Craig mid-conversation, and he doesn't know how to respond. So yeah. So yeah, that's really I guess that's Xbox's plan, right? They're going to go Netflix-y. They've pushed cloud, which I just don't see. But maybe I'm a boomer at this point. Like, I just don't see a scenario where it's better to play a game on the phone, or like if you've got a good internet connection that you need for cloud, like you probably have an Xbox lying around, or you have a PlayStation. I don't know. I think gaming's a bit more mainstream than I think people realise. But what do I know, eh? What do I know? Someone's dog or stomach made a noise then. That was interesting.
That is the cat, I think.
Okay.
Cat, yeah.
But yeah, where do you hope to see it go, Craig?
I think Chris is right. I think there will be more acquisitions. I know Jez on the Xbox 2 podcast has talked a lot about how Microsoft had like a huge pot of money set aside for acquisitions, and that they were eager to spend that quickly because of inflation and going up in the world, and not wanting money to sat in the bank, basically. And then not long after that, we did see the Activision deal, so it kind of makes sense. Whether that's all the money, who knows? But my memory always is of when Netflix started was that when they first started, they weren't making a lot of their own content, so they were bringing in a lot of other shows and a lot of other stuff like that, which we've seen a lot of like Xbox doing, bringing in other games to release day one onto the service. So it wouldn't surprise me if they continue with some level of acquisitions to try and get to the point where they're not so reliant on bringing in third parties to launch day one, where it's more focused on their own stuff, which I imagine would be a more sustainable way of doing it as well. So
I was going to say, it always comes down to money. Like, why pay Square X amount for X game where we own a studio that can make X game instead?
Yeah, so I think that will be their strategy long term, is to try and get to the point where Netflix are now, where they are pretty much making most of their own content themselves and not really relying on anyone external. And then, like you said, cloud is one of those things where it seems to be like you see people tweeting about it a lot, but I've still never actually seen anyone using cloud gaming like in the street or anything like that. Whether we'll get there at some point or whether it is just a bit of a fad, who knows? It's a strange one. It's like VR. When VR was kind of first around, everyone thought that by now we'd all be playing VR, and in reality, it's still a very kind of niche thing. And that
pun definitely intended there from Craig. Very much so. But yeah, you're right. I think it's going to be that Netflix thing. That's what they've been saying for years, and I think that's the way it's going to go. So the last question to ask on our little random ramble is, one thing they can buy next. What do you want? I'll start. I want them to buy Sega. Be fun to finally have Atlas games on Xbox, and then an exclusive fighter of Sonic versus Crash versus Conker versus fucking Blinks the Timesweeper Cat. That's what we want. Versus a car from Forza on its hind wheels. We've seen it before, Chris. Yeah. Ironically, in a Sega game. So
yeah.
Craig, what about you?
I mean, if we're just going pure, just balls to whatever we want, it probably would be Capcom. We spoke about earlier. mainly because I'm just a huge Resident Evil stan nowadays, and just having all the Resident Evil games on Game Pass would be obviously awesome. I guess Monster Hunter as well.
Devil May Cry, you like as
Yeah,
well.
I was a big fan of Monster Hunter World, so having that and Iceborne, even though I still don't have my save because that's stuck on PlayStation, which sucks. But whenever they make the next big Monster Hunter game that's multi-platform, that would be cool. So yeah, Capcom would be my kind of like dream one.
Nice. So Pengy, why is it Konami for you?
Because anyone just needs to save Konami. Simple, isn't it?
I knew that's what you were going to say. I literally just saw you from a distance.
Anyone like Japanese, because they don't own a Japanese publisher or studio. Well, they actually technically they own Tango, they own Tango, don't they? Now, I guess. But yeah, they don't really have anyone Japanese, and Konami makes the most sense because they got all that IP just sat there doing diddly squat.
I feel like realistically, Sega and Konami could happen because neither of them are that expensive. Market-wise.
The problem with Konami would be obviously they'd have all their gambling stuff and their gym stuff and that, so you'd have to somehow buy just the video game part of Konami. But obviously Konami use some of the IP for their gambling stuff and their gym stuff as well, so don't know what would be around that or something.
Whereas Sega are bleeding money, so it'd be a good purchase. Someone's going to buy Sega soon. That's you can quote me in 6 months. Someone's going to buy. I don't know who it's going to be, but someone is going to buy Sega soon.
The Embracer Group. They buy everyone.
They just closed all their arcades.
Yeah, that was a thing. It's transferred something over to someone else. They've not closed them. It is a bit of a weird one, that. Yeah,
they're not. I say they. Whenever you look at market value things on Twitter, Sega's is much lower than you think it is. It's 7 billion, which it's Sega. They have the IP alone that Sega has, but for a company like Microsoft would be mental. Even the modern stuff that Craig knows about, if Craig thinks Sega, he probably thinks Sonic, Yakuza, Football Manager, stuff like that. Total War, let alone all the Dreamcast stuff that we know and love, and all the Genesis games and all that kind of stuff. So,
so whether they feel, I guess they would need to actually buy them because they seem to have this. I know that it is a cloud-based deal with them, isn't it?
Yeah, it's whether someone else buys them. That's where we're at.
And all their Sega PC games seem to be coming to Game Pass right away.
That's what I was thinking. All of their PC games since that's been announced seem to be just coming day one.
It's this weird Cold War in now, though, isn't it? So do you buy them to stop the other one buying them?
Yeah.
That's kind of where I know that sounds stupid, but it kind of feels like that's where it's at the moment.
In Spencer's interview about Activision Blizzard, basically sounded like we bought them so Amazon, Google, Apple, Facebook don't buy them. Yeah. So yeah,
and we always forget about that group of companies because we are not consumers really of that kind. Apple Arcade, I know nothing about. I literally. We talk about games every week. We've all played games for 20, 30 years. I could not tell you anything about Apple Arcade because I've never had any reason to. I know you've interacted with it, Chris, but I've had no reason to. Craig's had no reason to. But they have exclusive games. They have exclusive deals. You think Google? I can't see buying anyone. Amazon, I could see buying plenty of studios. Facebook have already tried quite heavily with quite a few things.
And obviously Facebook own Oculus. So.
Yeah,
and Facebook gaming or metaverse gaming is something that they're trying to push. I know that for a fact. So
there was talk as well that Activision approached Facebook first before Microsoft about acquisition as well. So that was definitely a possibility by the sound of it. It could have happened, which would have been bizarre and mental.
If Stadia had gone into a beta instead of launching when it did, this point now I could have seen them buying Activision because they've just gone around that whole process so wrong.
But
Amazon's doing a slightly better job with theirs because they really are betaing the shit out of it. We still can't get it over here, I don't think.
No.
So it's
I guess
maybe
the only other way you think obviously their businesses and companies, and I said about the Saudi Arabian group having pies in Nexon in Korea and now Capcom. Google are a business, maybe just not for making exclusive games for Stadia or mobiles. Just we can buy X, they make X amount of money, we're going to buy them and they're going to be part of our portfolio. Not even
maybe
Yeah,
So, and
maybe that's just
companies like Google can bring out a new service at any time. Like they can drop Stadia tomorrow and bring out Google streaming, and it'll be something completely different. It'll be like Netflix, literally, where it's just a whole app or whatever. You know what I mean? Like those companies have done it before, and they'll do it again. Like, you know, Google Play and Google Stadia aren't the same thing. Like, for an example of how weird those companies are, and you know, Amazon could do it. Apple are a weird one. Like I keep hearing all these rumors.
There's rumors of a console again.
Yeah, Apple are working on some sort of hardware, and they've basically bought half of the fucking Xbox team, which is interesting.
Yeah.
You don't know Tencent. What are they doing? I know in Japan, in China they have the Nintendo Switch deal, but Tencent again could decide they want to make a cloud gaming service. They could partner with so and so, but it's all very interesting. Like for us, we only care about Nintendo, Sony, Xbox, and a tiny bit about Steam, I guess. But like, there's a lot more players in the game than we care about, I think, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what feels in interview, like why you buy them. Like you said, there's all these other, like you said, players in the game.
But yeah.
And even like Sony's from like Bungie, it sounds pretty similar as well. Like there's a few other reasons why they apparently bought them, but it sounds similar. We bought them because of X, Y, and Z of Google and Facebook, etc. Especially with cloud gaming and live gaming and that.
Yeah, and
Bungie makes a lot of sense for them as well, doesn't it? Because they don't really own many studios that seem to be making a lot of like multiplayer games or co-op sort of games,
or games that aren't third-person action games.
Exactly. So having someone like that is very much something different to what they currently have.
Yeah, and if Bungie's team is big enough, they can staff up and work on multiple games, which I think is, from that interview, sounds like that's what the plan is. Then you're buying the leadership as well when you buy studios like Bungie, and those leaders have made great games, so it's not too much of a surprise. But yeah, it's interesting. Like the next year to 5 years could be very strange for gaming. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone do a better job than Google at launching a new platform. Like I think we talked about it when Google launched it. You should have gone into beta, or they should have released it with hardware as well. Sounds like that's what Apple might do, which is sensible. I say Amazon have been very sensible with theirs, so we'll see. Like, and then obviously Xbox is trying to merge its way into that space. I think Xbox has decided that boxes is done. Like it's done. You don't buy a games console and then buy games in shops anymore. That's done. And we'll see how that works out for Sony, who are doing the opposite. And obviously the PS5's had good sales numbers, but it's whether that continues and whether attachments continue and stuff like that. So we'll see, boys and girls. We shall see. Well, that is another episode of the Pod of War podcast. If you like the show and you like my lazy stance I've got into now, you can follow us on the Twitterverse at Pod of Wars. You can follow me at EOFGizmo. You can follow Chris at Mass of Das, and you can follow Craig in the streets. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Chris, say goodbye.
Bye.
Lovely stuff.